Do you want to transform your room into a cozy little autumn nest or into a spooky Halloween place, but you're broke? Don't worry, I got you. Instead of doom scrolling through overpriced decor, why not romanticize fall by doing some DIYs that are actually cute, doable, and really fun to make? Autumn is a season of chillier weather, staying in, and it's the perfect time of the year to get a little crafty, to make your space more cozy, and to make it feel like a little sanctuary, preparing for the depressing time that is winter. And whether you're going for haunted house energy or warmer, cozy autumn vibes, I have got more than 20 DIYs made just for you. So some of these tutorials will take just a few minutes, while others are definitely taking more time. So I think there will be a little DIY for every taste, whether you're a beginner crafter or a more seasoned DIYer. I'm Anna and I love creating silly stuff. Let's get crafting! A mushroom garland. You'll need some tin foil, some thread, tissues, and Mod Podge. First, you're gonna try to make a mushroom shape with your tin foil. It's pretty easy. You start by making the roots of the mushroom and then the little hat of it. Then you're gonna take a tissue and some Mod Podge to cover the whole mushroom, which will make the mushroom sturdy. Then you cut a little length of thread that you can glue onto the mushroom with Mod Podge as well as tissue paper to create a little tie. I did this with several mushrooms. You can make as many as you like. Make sure to cover the whole surface of the mushroom, and once it's done, it should be really sturdy and you'll be able to paint it. I personally tried to create kind of a dirty red tint. So I took some red acrylic paint that I mixed with black paint as well as orange paint, and I applied this on the top part of the mushroom, and then I created kind of a grayish beige color for the foot of the mushroom. And when this was done, I added some little white dots, and then I cut some thread and I tied the mushrooms onto the thread to make the garland. A spooky pumpkin lamp. I first draw a circle on a piece of thin cardboard or thick paper, and then I split the circle into 3 parts that will help me to create the shape of the pumpkin. And I draw the eyes, the nose, and the mouth. I chose to draw heart-shaped eyes, but you can also draw triangular eyes, which will be easier to cut. For the smile, I create a round line and then I just draw zigzags on top of it. I then cut the shape of the pumpkin and also cut with a cutter or a scalpel the inside of the pumpkin. I then use this as a reference to make other pumpkin shapes. You can create as many pumpkin shapes as you like. Once the pumpkin shapes are all cut, I use some blue tack to fix those pumpkin shapes inside the lampshade. You can also add a twist to this tutorial by making bat shapes instead of pumpkins or mini ghosts, for example. Zombie hands. For this tutorial, you'll just need black paper, and if you don't have black paper, you can also use a white sheet of paper that you just paint in black. So you're going to draw several hand shapes onto the paper. So these hands have to be a little convoluted in order to make them look like zombie hands. If you're not really sure how to draw those hands, you can check out Pinterest for some references, or you can even just trace them. Once you're done, you cut the shapes of the hands and you can put them on your windows with some blue tack. Bloody candles. I have seen those little bottle candle holders all over Pinterest and I think they look so pretty. Orange garlands. So this tutorial is definitely more on the warm, cozy, autumnal side than the spooky one. You're gonna slice an orange and put it in the oven for a few hours at a very low temperature to make the slices dry. And then you're just going to take the slices and put them on some threads. They also smell really good. Rock eyeball. For this tutorial, you'll need some more or less round-shaped rocks, but since I couldn't find some, I took some chestnuts instead that I painted in white. Then I trace a circle to make the iris and a smaller circle to make the pupil. I also added a little bit of yellow and red onto the white surface because the white of the eyes are seldom 100% white, and I thought that it would add a little bit of realism. And I also drew some veins with some red acrylic paint and a really thin paintbrush, but you can also just use a red Posca pen, and I think it's actually easier. Then I tried my best to recreate the iris, so I drew little lines all around the iris going towards the pupil. For the external part of it, I drew them with a black Posca, and then I added on top some brown lines to try to mix the color together. And I also used a green Posca and as well as a yellow Posca to try to recreate the different shades of color that you can find in an eye. And then I varnished the whole thing, and now we have a little spooky eyeball. A Coraline doll. This is one of the DIYs that is definitely taking a little bit of time and that is a little trickier than your average DIY. But do not worry, if you're interested in making a Coraline doll, I actually already uploaded a YouTube video where I explained in detail how I made one, so the video will appear somewhere on the screen, and if you're interested, you can check out this video. You will have like a full tutorial. The next little funny craft that you can do this autumn is actually kind of similar to the Coraline doll, and it's just to basically create your own spooky doll. I think this is so much fun because you can really let your creativity speak and you can just create little creatures and basically anything you like. For example, last year I created Mr. Pumpkin, which is a pumpkin cat, and it is just so much fun and it's such a whimsical little craft to do, and it's perfect for the season. Paper bats. So this one is a pretty easy tutorial. You're gonna take a sheet of paper and you're going to trace a circle on this paper, and then under the circle you're gonna trace kind of an oval shape. After this, just draw two little cat ears and then a curvy line as well as some waves to make the wings. If you don't really know how to draw, you can always trace this. But once you have the first half drawn, you can just trace a line in the middle of the bat and then fold the paper to help you make the bat symmetrical. I made 3 different sizes of bats. Once I'm done creating 3 different shapes of bats, I cut them and then I use them as a template to make other bats out of black paper. Once they're cut, I fold their wings to make them three-dimensional, and then I put them on the wall with some blue tack. And now I have a spooky pack of bats on the wall. Autumn-themed bookmark. Now, this one isn't per se a room decor, but I still wanted to include it because I think that it's a really easy and cute DIY. You can basically scroll on Pinterest and look for autumn-themed patterns that you enjoy, and you can just take inspiration from these patterns, which can often be really simple to draw. So I basically started by cutting a rectangle of paper, and then I painted this using watercolor, but you can definitely use any medium you're comfortable with, whether it's acrylic markers or alcohol markers. And once it dried, I decided to make a pattern of spooky black cats. So I first drew the cat on a separate paper so I could use the shape of the cat as a template for my pattern. And I traced it on the bookmark. Pumpkin desk friend. For this one, you'll need toilet paper rolls as well as some cardboard and cardboard paper from old packagings. You're going to trace strips of cardboard and then cut them. Then you're gonna glue the ends of the strips onto the toilet paper roll with hot glue. Once you have glued enough strips to make the shape of a pumpkin, you are gonna use, I think it's called cardboard paper, and twist it to form a little stem. Then you have two options. First, you can choose to just let the pumpkin like this and paint it in orange, but I like to make things harder for myself, and I really wanted to try to make one of those vintage looking pumpkins. I wanted this pumpkin to have a face, so I traced the eye shape as well as the nose and the mouth on some old cardboard packaging, and then I proceeded to glue them onto the pumpkin. You can see that I doubled the thickness of the eyes and the nose because I wanted them to stand out a little more. And once those were glued to the pumpkin, I then added the tissue paper on top of it to add some texture and make it look a little vintage and to make it look a little bit like paper mache. I also covered the stem, but that's totally optional. And then I painted the pumpkin. And I tried to add those vintage cartoony looking eyes, but you can also choose to just let the eyes and the mouth and the nose totally yellow. It's really up to your taste and how you want your pumpkin to look like. If you watched this video until here, please help me choose a name for this pumpkin, because now that she has a face, she needs to have a name. So what should we call her? I don't really know if my pumpkin really looks like what I wanted her to look at first, because I removed the eyebrows because I think it looked weird, but it was really the thing that made it look like a little vintagey cartoon. So I don't know, but I still like her, I would say, and yeah, she's gonna make a pretty cool Halloween decor. A paper ghost garland. If you are sensitive, I would advise you to skip this DIY because it is not for the fragile souls, but sometimes to make DIYs, you have got to make some sacrifices, so I'm sorry.
You are first going to take a book and you're going to rip the pages.
Then you're going to draw a little ghost. You just have to draw a U shape and then little waves for the bottom of the ghost. Then you are going to cut the shape and draw some eyes and a mouth and some arms, just like I'm doing here. Once you have all your little ghosts, you are going to take a needle and make some holes in their forehead. And then you're going to put a thread through these ghosts to make a little garland out of them. I think this is the easiest tutorial on this whole video, and yet it is so cute. And by the way, it makes also a really great toy for cats. Vintage spooky wool art. I drew this cat on paper, but you can also do it on cardboard if you want the piece to be a little more thick. You can draw a spooky cat, but you can also draw like a spooky pumpkin, or I mean, really, there are a lot of inspiration that you can find on Pinterest, and it's really cool if you like to draw. And even if you don't, you can honestly just trace it. A scream face desk friend. For this, you'll need some air dry clay or polymer clay or any type of clay you have, and you are just going to try your best to sculpt, and then at the end it turns out pretty cool most of the time. The following tutorial is really for the final bosses of DIYing, for those who will not be afraid of anything, and it's basically to paint a part of your bedroom, like your door or a little wall or the side of a piece of furniture, with an autumn themed pattern. For instance, I had a phase where I just was obsessed with this kind of witchy, whimsy gothic pattern, and I decided to draw little suns and moons and stars on my door, and yeah, I think the results look really Halloween-esque.
It's time for additional ideas that I was too lazy to make myself, but I still thought they were great ideas, so I just decided to include them anyways in case you're interested.
You can also make a pumpkin plushie out of old socks or old clothes. I think this is just so cute and so cozy, and this is definitely something you could buy in a store, but that you can make yourself for free. And I think it's pretty easy to do. You just have to, take a sock and then you stuff it with stuffing. You sew the other end of the sock, and then using some thread or some wool, you can just create the shape of the pumpkin, just like a little paupiette. You can also make a ghost candle. If you're leaning more towards the natural side of autumn, you can also pick up some autumn leaves and then just use them to make a garland. I think it's such a great idea of little activity to romanticize fall. Thank you for watching this video. It was honestly so much fun to make. Let me know if you have other ideas of themes for DIYs that I could turn into a video. In a world where we are constantly pushed to consumerism and buy things again and again and again, I think it's important to slow down and take a little time for yourself to just create stuff you want instead of buying them. Sometimes you already have everything you need at home. You can use junk or even old things you have at home and just like reuse them in different ways. And yeah, on top of this, it's really fun. So I love doing this, and I hope you do too. Creating things and crafting shouldn't have to be expensive, and the point of it all is it just has to feel good. And even if the things you make aren't perfect, I think that's the beauty of it, and the beauty of it is also in the process, in taking the time to make these things and just work their little hands. By the way, I make videos about crafting and drawing, so if you're interested in any of those topics, you can check out my channel. See you soon, bye!